So I come before you here today in support of SJ 193. I'm a business owner. I'm the former first selectman in North Stonington. I work for the Connecticut League of Conservation Voters. But today I'm here as a dad. And I'm going to tell you that when I came to Connecticut in 2010, it was at a time where I lived on the border of Rhode Island. And I ended up in a situation where we were canoeing back and forth to our house because of major flooding. And it was quite interesting that we continue to see these issues happening all the time. My son said to me, who's 19 now, but several years ago when he was in his teens, he says, Dad, all this climate stuff, this is your fault. And he's not wrong. It is my fault. It's all of our faults because we know things now. We know things and we need to act on those things. This morning, I was able to attend a press conference of the Connecticut Health Professionals for Climate Action. Some of you may have seen that was happening this morning. And this group is made up of doctors and nurses, professionals who care for people that need it. And it struck me that they were all here and they had to go back to work, but they had to take time to come here to talk about common sense things that there just aren't common sense a lot of the time now. And today, even in this hearing, I've been here all day listening, and I've heard about the toxicity of politics, which I'm well aware of. Some of you have mentioned it. I'm an unaffiliated person, but I know how it works. And you guys have a lot to do, a tremendous amount of work that you have to do. And this bill ensures our rights to clean air, water, healthy soils, ecosystems, and a healthy climate. And I understand how much you all have to do. And so I'm asking that this is highly considered and put forth so that way it can be in our Constitution and we can just know that these are our rights and they are there for us, just as if for speech or due process, all these other things that are our rights. These should be things we have the rights to, but it's not spelled out. And this bill can take care of that. I just end with the fact that we know what these issues are now. We didn't know the issues years ago. Maybe it was excusable. It's really not excusable anymore. We know a lot of the issues. We have to act on this. And so I act today. I ask today for you to support SJ 193 and move it forward. This is our chance. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and your testimony today. Are there questions? There are questions. Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mike, thanks for being here today. I appreciated your testimony and I agree with it. I don't know how well how closely you've looked at the language of the bill. And I think that you were speaking very specifically about lines 1 through 12 of the bill. And, those are very positive sentiments about, protecting the rights of every individual to have access to clean air and water. We all want that. I mean, in our toxic political environment, sometimes it's easy to forget that. But the fact of the matter is, I think everybody is, certainly concerned about making sure that we preserve our environment for future generations and for ourselves. My issue with this bill comes starting on line 12. And this is what concerns me, is it starts going down a different path altogether. Instead of protecting the rights of individuals, it starts to claim things for the state. It says the state shall serve as trustee of all of the natural resources of the state, including its water, air, flora, fauna, soils, and climate. I don't know how you can possess the climate, but okay, and shall conserve, protect, and maintain these resources for the benefit of all people, including present and future generations. Where I run into difficulty with this is that this is a pretty significant expansion of what is known as the public trust doctrine, which effectively has existed since time immemorial, even before the United States. I mean, governments had to deal with this as far as property ownership, where there are things that are in question, like the beach, the tide ebbs and flows. Where does the property end and where does it begin? And that's a place where the government kind of has a role. When it comes to the right of fishermen and hunters to have access to resources on the land, that's another place where the public trust doctrine seems to enter into things. My concern about this is that it looks like this language would empower the state government effectively to interfere with the individual private property rights of any citizen in effectively defending the environment. Now, and I'm certainly, I don't think anybody, most certainly someone from the Connecticut League of Conservation Voters, you're not going to disagree with the idea that we should stop people that are harming the environment, even on their own private property. But I'm just concerned that, you know, this could open the door for eminent domain, things like that. I don't know if you have a reaction to that part of the bill language, because I noticed your testimony was really focused on the beginning part.
It was, and as I preface my testimony, I'm here as a dad, and that's really, I mean, I have a lot of other hats that I wear, but I'm really most concerned with the future generations. I mean, I truly am. You see what's happening, and you spoke about hunting and wildlife, and there's not going to, I mean, we're at risk of having a lot of the wildlife population just not really being there for us, and that's in the oceans. And these are the things that concern me. As far as you know, overreach of government, which sounds like your concern. I don't think this amendment has anything. It doesn't mean that government's going to infringe on constitutional environmental rights. I think Montana has had the Supreme Court talked about this, and we've seen some other states who have enacted this, and they are not seeing frivolous lawsuits or anything like that. There's none that have been coming up as of yet. So to me, this is something that is, it's really, to me, it's very important that this move forward and that people get a chance to see this through.
Through you, Madam Chairman, thank you. I appreciate that answer. And again, I agree with you on everything you said. I mean, but this is an emotional argument. I'm more focused with the factual argument of what the bill actually empowers the state to do. It goes on to say the rights stated in this section are equivalent to all other inalienable rights. In fact, I mean, your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're equating the right of the state to have possession of other people's property effectively. I mean, it goes very deeply into interfering with the sovereign nature of American citizens. So let me ask you a more direct question that's more basic, which is, can you give me an example of something that would be beneficial for the environment going forward that would come out of this that cannot already be accomplished already? In other words, what does this constitutional amendment change as far as our ability to preserve for the future, as you and I are both concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we see all too often now is that a lot of these issues that should be just taken for granted, that, you know, I'll say for myself, I have to use an inhaler, and I had to use a number of inhalers. And by the way, over the years, they've been like black boxed. So I've been subject to having to use, you know, these medications over many years. And unfortunately, we are seeing now where we're in a position that we had set goals for ourselves, and we're not actually on a path towards reaching them. So we need something like this in order to set us up for success. And that's why I think this bill is really important for you guys to move forward.
Through you, Madam Chairman, thank you for that answer. I was hoping that you might have a specific example. I mean, obviously, we want to do better for the environment. Again, I mean, a lot of your comments are things that everybody in the world agrees with. I mean, maybe there are some few exceptions of people that really don't give a darn about the environment in pursuit of their own advantages. But I don't think that's most people, and certainly not people who are in the public realm who serve in public office in either party. I mean, we're all concerned. I mean, we're here because we want to see a better life for our constituents, and certainly we want to protect future generations. I'm looking for anyone who wants to testify today to give me an example of something that this is going to help us achieve, instead of just making a blanket statement, we care about the environment. We can all say we care about the environment, but do we do that at the expense of writing a law that might open the Pandora's box of, you know, interfering with individual property rights, essentially empowering our neighbors to invoke the rights that are contained therein against their neighbors over property issues. I mean, these are the concerns that I have.
So, no, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. And I know there's actually folks in this, and I'm happy to yield some time to actually folks that are even more familiar with this bill than I am. But I will say this, the reason for this is that we aren't doing the work. And I know you're saying that everyone agrees with all this in principle and we're all for the environment. The problem is it's not happening. So what this does is it codifies these rights that we should be, that seem like they're common sense, that just are not. It's just not happening. So I don't agree that there'll be overreach in these ways in which you're describing, because we're not seeing it in other areas where this is happening. And yet we are seeing the health impacts of climate change. We are seeing the problems that with wildlife. We are seeing all of these issues. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. I'm glad that you're interested in it. And what my hope is that even if it's not perfect in the way that it is now, that you will have dialogue about this and you will put something forth that isn't watered down, but actually gets to the root of what this is. So, I think it's great that you're interested in it.
Through you, Madam Chairman. Mike, are you the only person here today from the Connecticut League of Conservation Voters?
I think there's two of us that are testifying today, and I think another one was hoping to. I'm not sure she made it on.
Yeah, I purposely waited for you on the testimony because I thought that your organization would be probably the greatest source of information on this proposal to have a legitimate conversation with, which is why forgive me if I'm asking you a lot of hard questions. It's simply because I know you said you're here as a dad, but you didn't put dad. It says League of Conservation Voters. So sorry, I got you, man. And so for me, I'm looking for someone to have this conversation with that is in a position of significant knowledge.
Will you give me a couple more minutes, and I'm happy to read a little bit more fact.
We can certainly talk offline too. I mean,
okay.
Again, I mean, I just for me, I mean, this is a very, very important issue, and I've heard the very passionate testimony of people that have come before the committee today, and I'm happy to listen. And hey, look, in my own life history, I wanted to be a scientist. I mean, I went to college to be an aquatic biologist. I've always been a lover of the environment and everything else, but I'm a Republican. I get tagged a lot, and your organization tags me pretty often on things that I don't think are environmentally related, to be honest with you. They're more progressive policy agenda items rather than they are environmentally focused policy. So I'll give you a chance. You'll have all the time in the world to respond. So yeah, until the chairman cuts you off. See, I won't. You can go as long as you want, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, so I guess I'll leave it there. What I was hoping for was something concrete to say, well, Senator Sampson, right now there is no way for us to enact a policy in the state of Connecticut to do X, and this constitutional amendment will allow it. And I would really like to know if there is an example of that. And then I would really like to weigh whether that's a really good example. We're discussing, the potential ban of gas-powered cars. Now, I know there's some people that believe that fossil fuels and their use is an existential threat to the planet because of the climate and so forth. And that may be true. But there's other people that might say, well, Connecticut, going down that road on its own probably is not going to change the outcome. And whether it's worth weighing the deprivation of individual choice and rights of the citizens of Connecticut to be able to purchase the type of car that they want is something that we ought to consider as a conversation. So, would this bill, as you see it, allow the state to create similar type of mandates without even having a policy drafted, simply because the legal statements that are contained in here saying that these rights are enumerated in our Constitution, and that residents of the state can invoke and enforce these rights? I mean, that, to me, that reads that you could go to the Attorney General of the state and say, I want the state to impose a requirement that no one burns fossil fuels anywhere in the state because of my right to clean air. And they could do it without legislation. I mean, that's my fear, because I don't want to take away the influence and power of the people through their elected representatives. So just my thoughts. You can just welcome to react to it. And again, you have all the time in the world up until the chairman says otherwise.
Thank you. I think the thing that I like about this legislation is that it does put us in a situation where we haven't been able to get certain things done. And as you just said, and when you were talking right now, a lot of the times these issues end up being, you said you're Republican, and a lot of the things that you get, I guess, pegged as, end up being maybe not how you'd want them to come out. And so what I'm saying is that this legislation has the opportunity to take this out of the hands of having it, and it codifies it as a right that I think we should all have. So.
Well, I appreciate the answers to my questions, and hopefully we can, delve into this a little more deeply, Mike. And I would love, if you can work on answers to my questions. Maybe the league can convince me to support the policy. I mean, but I would need to be convinced at this point. I am with you on the certainly the emotional argument, the platitudes. We all care about the environment. I also care about the individual rights of my constituents, and certainly their property rights being preserved. I mean, to me, that's what makes America America, is that we have the right to own and possess our own private property. That makes citizens sovereign. And this, I think, imposes on that individual sovereignty in a big way. So I'll continue to listen to the discussion and debate, and certainly we will hash it out in the weeks to come. Thank you.